So the main advantage of having pointers is we can do something called as memory allocation. So before going to how you are going to use pointers for memory allocation, first we'll see what is memory allocation and what are the types of memory allocation we have. So each and every program memory will be having various parts. This is the complete program memory will be having. I already told you once or twice in the class about this one during telling about memory. So each and every program will be having a space for program instructions, and there will be a space for your global variables, and there will be place for your static variables. This you and all these parts I told you about program instructions and global variables. This will be present in a separate memory, that is permanent storage area. And there will be two parts. One is called as the stack. The second one will be calling it as the heap. The stack will be used to store your local variables, whatever you are declaring up till now. All those things will be stored in your local variables. That is, when you declare a general variable int a, b, c, all these things will be present as local variables, and it will be present in a part called as stack or program stack. And there is another part which you are going to learn now, is called as the heap. Heap is one free memory, and this way there will be a free space for you, and this will be used to do something called as dynamic memory allocation. So that thing you are going to learn now. This part you are going to learn how you are going to use this heap part. So far you have been using only this permanent storage as well as this stack. Using pointers we are going to use this part called as the heap. All these parts will be present for each and every program whatever you write. So your global variables, static variables, and program instructions will get their permanent storage, while local variables will be present in your stack. The memory space between the regions of stack and permanent will be calling it as the heap area. This region is used for dynamic memory allocation. Okay, this dynamic memory allocation will be done during the execution of the program. I will tell you about this one. So the size of heap will keep changing. The size of heap will keep changing. Why? Because while you are using, you are going to change. I will tell you how. So all the memory allocation will be of two types. One will be calling it as static memory allocation. The second one will be going to call it as dynamic memory allocation. So the static memory allocation is nothing but the memory allocated during the compilation time. Okay, the compilation time means whenever you are typing cc your program name.c. Okay, during the compilation time this static memory will be allocated. Static memory will be allocated in the stack whatever I shown you in the previous one. Static memory allocation will come from stack. Dynamic memory allocation will come from heap. So when your memory is assigned during compilation time, we are going to call it as static memory allocation. And whenever your memory is assigned during runtime, we'll be going to call it as dynamic memory allocation. Okay, runtime means whenever you are executing ./a.out, and during the execution of the program, if you want to assign the memory, we are going to use the dynamic memory allocation. So compilation means before your program is executed, we are going to assign the memory. So your static memory allocation will come from the stack, and dynamic memory allocation will come from heap. Okay. So what is the disadvantage of having your static memory allocation is you cannot increase while the program is being executed. What does this mean is, for example, if you are having an array and that array size is 10, we are going to say that we are going to only store 10 values in your program. In future, if your program needs 11th memory location, then whenever you use the static memory location, you cannot provide this 11th memory location. Okay, so if your particular program is working for only 10 members, for example, if you write software for 500 employees and that program will work for only 500 employees if you use the static memory allocation. When you use the dynamic memory allocation, you have the flexibility to increase during the execution of your program. So for example, if you get the 500th employee, okay, if you are going for the 501th employee, then your dynamic memory allocation will automatically increase your memory. That will be done by dynamic memory allocation. And this you are going to use in arrays, and this you are going to use in linked list. Linked list is nothing but you are going to learn in data structures in the next years. Okay, the static memory allocation will, simple part is the static memory allocation will be done at compile time. Your dynamic memory allocation will be done at execution time or runtime. So in order to perform dynamic memory allocation in C, we are going to have memory management functions. So these memory management functions are used for allocating and freeing or releasing memory or deallocating memory during execution of the program. So all these memory functions will be present in standard library.h header file, and you are going to have 4 functions. One is malloc, calloc, realloc. These 3 are for allocation, and the last one free is for deallocation. Okay, you are going to have for allocating and freeing memory. You can allocate the memory by using malloc, calloc, and realloc, and you can deallocate the memory by using free. All these 4 functions will be present in standard library.h. We'll be seeing these 4 functions one by one. So malloc, we are going to allocate the memory for a requested size of bytes. Okay, so if I want 100 bytes of memory in my program, I'm going to say malloc of 100. Okay, it will assign 100 bytes of memory, and if there are no 100 bytes of memory in your computer, it will return a void pointer. Okay, basically what will happen is you will be asking some 1000 bytes or 100 bytes of memory, and your compiler will search for 100 bytes or 100 blocks, complete 100 bytes one block, and it will fetch that block and will provide a pointer to this one. And you are going to use that block for any purpose. If you are going to use that particular block for integers, you can use an integer pointer to point to that one. If you are going to use that particular 100 block for storing character values, you can use a character pointer to point one. So basically malloc allocates a requested size of bytes, and it will return a void pointer pointing to the first byte of your allocated space. This void pointer can be used to point to any either integers or characters or anything. This will be allocating a fixed size. Calloc, the cascading allocation we call it as, allocates space for an array of elements and initializing them to 0, and then it will return a void pointer. What does this mean is, if I want to allocate one block, I'm going to use malloc. For example, if I want 100 bytes one block, I am going to use malloc. If I want 100 bytes 3 or 4 blocks, I'm going to say 100 bytes 3 or 4 blocks. That is 3 or 4 blocks means 3 blocks of 100 bytes means I need 3000 bytes. If I want 3 or 4 blocks, I am going to use calloc. One block means I am going to use malloc. More than one block means I am going to use calloc. But both can be implemented with any another. Both will be having the same purpose of allocating the memory. Whatever the memory allocated, if you want to change the memory allocation, that is, if I have 1000 bytes here and your 1000 bytes are not sufficient in your program, if I want to change that one, I'm going to use reallocation. Whatever that is given before, I can modify that particular size. Once after using these memory allocations, that is, you have allocated the memory in your program and you have used that memory in the program. Once after usage, you can release that memory. So to release the memory, I'm going to use free. Why you are going to release the memory means, once if an employee is away from your particular organization, you can delete that particular entries. So deleting the entries is directly releasing your particular memory. So you can use the free to release your memory. So we'll see all these four with an example. So malloc stands for your memory allocation. It will reserve a block of memory with a specified number of types. It returns a pointer of void which can be casted into any pointer. So for example, malloc of size. I am going to write malloc of size. So how I am writing 100 into size of float. Size of float means 4 into 100, 400 bytes of memory is assigned, and this 400 bytes of memory is used for floating point values. Okay, this is the line which you are going to use for allocating the memory. This PTR also should be a float pointer. Float star PTR is equal to, this is, what I'm saying is, it will reserve a block and it will return a pointer of void. That is, this will reserve a block of 400 bytes and it will return a pointer of void. Now I'm casting, that is, I'm converting this void pointer into a floating point pointer. So when I convert this floating into floating point pointer, I can use it to point to floating point variables. Okay, and this is the main thing about memory allocation. So you have to remember that this particular statement will assign 400 bytes of memory. If there are no 400 bytes of memory in your heap, it will return null. Okay, that is, null means I don't have any memory in my particular computer. Okay, that is about memory location. The second one is continuous allocation, or cascading allocation, we can call it as. Allocates memory and leaves the memory uninitialized. Your malloc will allocate the memory, but it will be having all garbage values. But calloc will allocate the memory and it will initialize to 0. So as I told you, there we are going to specify one size, that is 400 bytes. Now I have to specify how many bytes, that is, there I have specified 400 bytes. So 400 bytes is one block there. Now I can specify the number of blocks here. That is, here n means I am going to say that I need 25 blocks of a particular size. Okay, there in malloc you are going to say that this is a 400 bytes memory allocation. Here I am going to say that 25 blocks of some particular memory. What memory? In this particular statement I have written size of float, that is 4. I need 25 blocks of 4 bytes. That is the thing I am going to say using this particular statement. The purpose of this is both malloc and calloc will work in the same manner for memory allocation. But a different thing is, here only one block will be provided. Here n blocks will be provided, n blocks of memories. That is calloc or continuous allocation. The third is reallocation. If whatever that is allocated by using malloc or calloc is insufficient, we can change it by using reallocation. So realloc whatever the pointer. So PTR you have used here, this is a previously assigned memory pointer. You can change that pointer with a new size. For example, here you have used 1000 bytes. I can use 2000 bytes here. The X will be the new size, whatever you want for reallocation. So now PTR will be pointing to a 2000 bytes memory. That is reallocation. The last one is free. So once after allocating by using malloc or calloc, it will not get freed on their own. So you have to explicitly free the space. In order to free the space, just remove that pointer, free PTR. So if you use the free PTR, you are going to release the allocated space. This is for deallocation of your memory. So all these things are combined in one program here. So I'm having, so what I have done is, how many elements you want in our program, I have taken as input in n. So using malloc, I have assigned one memory. Okay, using malloc, I have assigned one memory. For example, if I give n value as a 10, 10 into, if int is your 2 bytes, 10 into 2, 20 bytes of memory will be allocated. If the memory, if you don't have 20 bytes of memory, will be getting null. So if it is null, I can say that memory not allocated, and I will stop the program. If there is no memory, I cannot execute further, so I will stop the program. If there is memory, I can use it. The same memory allocation I can do by using calloc, where I am specifying n comma size of your int. Here if you see, I am specifying n into size of int. So n into size of int means, so 10 integers means 10 into 2, 20 bytes. Here I am going to say that 10 blocks of 2 bytes memory. That is the difference. Both will work in the same manner. Next, I am taking another size n1. So n is some 10 example. If I take n1 as 20 integers, so I am reallocating that particular into 20 integers. So I use the realloc for 20 integers memory space. After the usage, I can free that particular pointer. I have just used all these 3 or 4 functions, but I haven't used the memory. Just this is an example for using all functions only. I haven't used the 10 bytes of memory, 20 bytes of memory in the program. Just I have allocated the memory and deallocated the memory. I haven't used the memory for any purpose. This is an example for implementing all the 4 functions only. Okay. So as a part of assignment, you have to write these memory management functions. Whatever I have told you now, this is dynamic memory. So as a part of assignment 4, you have to write these memory management functions, and you can submit it by tomorrow evening. Okay. So all these 4 things, that is whatever malloc, calloc, realloc and free, all these 4 memory management functions on this particular program. And the last topic you have in your 4th unit is something called as the C processor. C processor or pre-processor, that is not processor, this is pre-processor. Okay. So whatever that is given in the syllabus, we are calling it as processor directives, but actually it is called as pre-processor directives. So pre-processor directives are of 3 types. One will be calling them as macros. Second one will be calling it as file inclusion. Third one will be calling it as conditional compilation. Where this C processor will be present is, the C preprocessor will be present here. That is, immediately after writing the program, whatever the program you have written, it will be given to a preprocessor. This preprocessor will expand your source code. What it will expand and how it will expand, I will tell you. Okay. It will increase your source code, and then only it will be giving that particular code to a compiler. So this preprocessor will be performed before the compilation process, and you cannot see this one. It will be performed automatically by the computer. So whatever the source code you are writing, that is a C program you are writing, that will be given to a preprocessor. This preprocessor will expand your code. That is what an example is, you will be writing hash include your particular file name, hash include stdio.h. That hash include stdio.h contents, that is stdio, whatever that is present in the stdio.h header file will be included in your C program. Okay, that is the main purpose of your preprocessor. It will extend your whatever code you have written, and then only it will be giving it to the compiler. So the C preprocessor directives is about learning all these 3 things, that is macros, file inclusion and conditional compilation. We'll be seeing these 3 things one by one. So a C preprocessor is a programming language, is program that that processes your C code of the C program and expanding the micro definitions, file inclusions and other things. It will expand these 3 things. Your preprocessor will expand your macros, file inclusion and perform some conditional compilation also. Only through preprocessor directives you are able to include your library files in your C program. So only through the preprocessor only you can include your header files in the program. So pre-processing in C happens before compilation, and a part of the source code is replaced with your pre-processing expressions whenever you encounter. So your preprocessor basically expands your source code. That's the main thing. So the total size of your code increases before it is passed to the compiler. So whatever the number of lines you write here might be different, and the number of lines present in the extended code will be increased. It will not be same, it will be increasing there. So that is the purpose of your preprocessor. So the first thing which the preprocessor does is macro expansions. Macro expansions are that we'll be calling them as macros. Macros are like functions or shortcuts that can be used to achieve your code reuse. So not that. So basically macros are some things which are written at the starting of the program, okay, before your main, to define some constants. For example, if I want to have pi in my program, I can write hash define pi, that is the name of your particular thing, pi, and I can give some value, that's pi is 3.142 pi. So I can use that pi in any part of your main. That is the use of your macros. Okay, hash define area of x. This is one macro. Hash define area of x, x into x. So this name can be used in any part of the program. So what I have done is I have written inside is equal to 20. So int area is equal to capital area of side. Side means side value is 20. So I have to calculate area of 20. So when I encounter this one, it will go into this particular macro. So it will calculate area of 20, that is 20 into 20, 400, and it will come here. The 400 value will go into area. Okay, this is the main thing. But what your preprocessor does is, if you write this program and try to give to the preprocessor will replace this particular code, whatever that is written inside the main area of side. It will replace the code with this part expression. Okay, basically your preprocessor will replace your name with the expression. It will replace this area with your expression x into x. That is the main thing about preprocessor. It will, you can use any, you can define any expression like this, define pi 3.14, define a function like this, define area of x, x into x. Frequently used things can be written in your program. That is about macro expansion. Okay, wait for 5 minutes, man. These are almost over. Next, file inclusion. That is the second type of preprocessor directive you have. So as the name suggests, using a C processor directive, you can perform the file inclusion. You are including either a library header file or a user defined header file. So far you have been including only library header files, that is stdio.h. Okay, you can have your own user defined header files also, which can be included. What the preprocessor does is it copies all the code of your included file into our C program and sends the combined single copy of the code to the compiler. So whenever I include hash include stdio.h, your preprocessor will include whatever the code that is present in stdio.h into your particular code. So you may write 5 lines of code. Whatever that is present in stdio.h will also be added into that code and it will be sent to the compiler. So that is about file inclusion. So the file inclusion can be done by using this thing, directive hash include. As you seen, directives, your preprocessor directives will start with hash, and macros will be done by using hash define, and file inclusion will be done by using hash include. So you can write hash include quotes file name or less than file name. So far you have been using only the second type. You can use the first type also. hash include space quotes file name. So you can have anything like this. So hash include math.h. So when you write math.h, all the code that is present in the math.h will be added into this code. Okay, that is about file inclusion preprocessor directive. And the last one is conditional compilation. So unlike macro expansion, whatever you have seen at the start, or file inclusion, there are conditional compilation preprocessor directives are written and they can be used in the C program itself. That is, you can write these conditional compilation directives inside the C program, that is inside the main. Okay, this conditional compilation is done by using these directives: if def, end if, hash else, hash else if. That is, this can be used just like your if else statements only. Okay, if you want to check something and if you are checking frequently in your program, you can write at the starting of the program this one. These help in implementing multiple source codes and versional controls. So you cannot understand this one. We'll go for the next. The conditional directives check for existence of a macro and compiles code accordingly. So if you see an example, so at starting you have defined a macro, hash define, hash is missing here, hash define area print success. This is one macro you have written. If I want to check whether a macro is present in my program or not, whether a macro is present or not, I will be using your conditional compilation. So the conditional compilation is if define. If def is whether if this is true, that is if area is present, if there is a definition or if there is a macro area, I'm going to print Europe. Else, that is if there is no area macro definition, I'm going to print Amazon. Okay, this is if else statement. Okay, if def means if there is a definition for area, I'm going to print Europe. If there is no definition for area, I'm going to print Amazon. In the above example, if the macro area exists, if there is a macro for area exists, then Europe is printed, otherwise Amazon is printed. This last one, there is another if n def, that is opposite to this one. If n def is the reverse of if def, that is if not definition, that is you can write in the reverse of that. If n def area, printf Amazon, else printf Europe. So if and def is a reverse of this particular if def. So these are the three things you have. And the last one, undefinition. Undefinition is part of this one. Once after defining a particular thing, you can undefine the thing. That is, if you have defined a macro area, you can undefine the macro also, undef. So after this particular line, if you use area, you'll be getting an error. Okay, so you have defined an area macro and you have undefined the macro. So in this particular declaration, if def area, this means that you have already undefined, there is no area macro, so you'll be printing Amazon here. You'll not be printing Europe. In the previous example, will get the output as Europe. Why? Because there is a definition for area. But here you have removed that area definition, so we'll be getting the output as Amazon. So that is about your preprocessor directives. You have those three preprocessor directives. One is your macros, the second one is file inclusion, third one is this conditional compilation. These three parts. This is also a important question for your exam. So we'll be getting a direct question, write about preprocessor directives or write about preprocessor. Okay. So with that, you are complete your fourth unit. You have completed your fourth unit, and I want you to write your assignment for this particular dynamic memory allocation.